Tēnā koutou katoa. In today's headlines, the ministry responsible for workplace safety admits it got things very wrong around mine safety. Kate Wilkinson resigned as Minister of Labour following the release of the Royal Commission of Inquiry's findings on the Pike River disaster. She doesn't believe she's been made a scapegoat.
I value my integrity and I thought it was the right and honourable thing to do. And I really don't want to say any more.
The Department of Labour, now the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment, has been heavily criticised in the report. The ministry's chief executive accepts the Commission's findings and says they are working hard to rectify those mistakes. A government liaison will be appointed to discuss ongoing mine and recovery issues with the families of the Pike River 29. The Electoral Commission has released its report into MMP and suggests reducing the party vote threshold from 5% to 4% and the removal of the one electorate seat threshold. Constitutional lawyer Davina William says the public voted to keep MMP, expecting improvements.
What we have is an MMP on steroids, which makes it even more likely that small parties will hold the balance of power and that small parties will have a disproportionate amount of power in our parliament.
The government has promised to consult with other parties on the Electoral Commission's proposals for the voting system, but Labour has decided to take preemptive action. Leader David Shearer says he'll introduce a members' bill to implement all the recommendations.
We've made our case very, very clear and we would work constructively. But in the meantime, we'll put this in as a private members' bill, put our thoughts in where we should be going with MMP.
An Australian Army commander is praising the New Zealand Defence Force for its work in Timor-Leste. 79 of our troops are returning home on Friday from their deployment with the Australian-led International Stabilisation Force. The coroner's inquest into the CTV building earthquake response has heard matters are much improved. A USA squad leader for Task Force 2 was in charge of rescue operations on the east side of the collapsed building. Anthony West says they were ill-equipped, but that has been remedied. The new payroll system for the country's 110,000 school teachers and support staff has been causing problems since its launch in August. Principal of Snells Beach Primary, Jill Corkin, told New Zealand's Rima that Auckland's primary school principals have had enough of Novopay.
I think it's a basic right to be paid for the work that you do, and we're really concerned that it's not going to be sorted out by the time they finish their job. So that's why we're not going to put any more time and energy into new initiatives until everybody brings all of their resources to bear on getting this sorted.
China has overtaken the UK as New Zealand's second largest tourist market, while Australians are still number one. The Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment says Chinese visitors spent 37% more over the past year, ahead of the UK by $10 million. The figures also show that Chinese tourists tend to make shorter trips, focused on Auckland, Rotorua and Queenstown. To the US, American media is saturated with election coverage as the president and Mitt Romney work hard to attract undecided voters. 29 million people across 34 states have already cast their ballot, but with just hours before the rest of America heads to the polling booths, it's unclear if those affected by Superstorm Sandy will view voting as an afterthought. And reporting from Chicago, political editor Barry Soper confirms there seems to be little excitement about the close race.
I talked to a number of people out on the street this morning and there's interest, but it's fairly indifferent interest, and that's a worry.
And the Coptic Christian church in Egypt has a new leader 8 months after Pope Shenouda III's death. 60-year-old Bishop Tawadros was chosen on Sunday during a ceremony at Abbasiyya Cathedral in Cairo. Egypt's Christian minority has faced escalating violence by Muslim extremists since the ousting of President Hosni Mubarak. And finally, Kiwi singer Stan Walker has been confirmed as one of 4 judges on next year's series of X Factor New Zealand. The Australian Idol winner has sold more than 80,000 albums in New Zealand, with triple platinum sales of his debut album, Introducing. Walker says he knows firsthand how life-changing a show like the X Factor can be. Ka nui ngā karere mātua mai te whare kōrero o Rima, mauri ora.